CC, what do you think about the Giants' pick? Did they make a mistake taking Daniel Jones?
Well, I'm not going to say the Giants made a mistake because, man, picking quarterbacks and picking players in this league is very, very hard. I went through some stories with Nick, draft day stories, guys who we drafted, and I got as much respect for Denny Green and how he develops talent. But, man, there were some times I was looking, I was like, man, what are we going to do with him? Like, what did they see in him? Now, from a quarterback standpoint, you have to be just like your wife or your husband. It don't matter what no one else says. You got to be in love with them. And you got to have the passion because you're the one going to have to live with them. They got to live with this decision. They do this for a living. They spend millions upon millions of dollars. They are paying Gettleman a lot of money to be able to get these decisions right. And if you talk about college football, where there's 600 players or 66 players that I thought were better than him last year, absolutely. But as far as running their franchise, and obviously Eli has done something that they figure Eli's going to play for several more years.
He's done a lot. He also gets to maybe get a hand in picking his successor.
I mean, this is not the quarterback that I would have taken. And I potentially would have gone for a defensive player at this spot and hoped to get a quarterback at the 17th spot, which I thought that they might do. But this, the New York Giants, Dave Gettleman, he's been doing this a lot longer than me. His career will ride on this decision. Because last year he had a chance to get a quarterback, and he passed on it because of Barkley. Barkley, outstanding season. The day after the draft, he said, man, this pick was so obvious that my mother could have made this selection. Well, let me tell you something, man. Even your mom was puzzled. That Giants fan's face was dropping. I was speaking in Philadelphia last night, and I had my alerts on, and my mouth dropped. And he was like, what happened? Did somebody just know? The Giants just selected someone that I'm shocked with. So, I mean, all eyes on the Giants and Pat Shurmur and their ability to be able to direct his career. But, man, Giants fans can't be happy after that selection, Nick.
See, you're right that Dave Gettleman's been doing this longer than you and certainly longer than me, and I understand that. But what Dave Gettleman had never done before last night in any of those 7 Super Bowls he's been to that he always likes talking about was had any hand in selecting the quarterbacks that took him there. He was a scout for the Buffalo Bills when they already had Jim Kelly. He came to the New York Giants when they already had Eli Manning. He came to the Carolina Panthers when they already had Cam Newton. So this is the first quarterback he's put his name to. And you mentioned, like, with your spouse, doesn't matter what other people think as long as you're in love. Let's find out when Dave Gettleman fell in love with Daniel Jones, because we know it wasn't, you know, the last game of the regular season for Duke when they played Wake Forest, got beat 59-7, threw for 140 yards. Like, when did you, Dave Gettleman, fall in love with Daniel Jones? Let's find out.
He walked out there, and I saw a professional quarterback. After the 3 series that I watched, I saw a professional quarterback. So that's when I was in full bloom love.
So right there, he's talking about the Senior Bowl. And this will now be the 3rd straight year the Giants, 2 under Gettleman, 1 under the previous regime, have drafted the Senior Bowl MVP.
Davis Webb, Kyle Aletta,
and now Daniel Jones. Listen, I'm not saying the kid can't be successful, and drafting quarterbacks is a crapshoot. We know that. But if he is successful, he will be one of one in NFL history with his statistical profile. The first 2 quarterbacks taken off the board are both trying to be one of one in NFL history. For Kyler, it's just about height. For Kyler, it's about one of his size being a high-level NFL quarterback. For this guy, it's in the modern era with modern stats, not talking about when everybody's passing numbers were depressed, of a guy, what you are asking him to do is one of the hardest things to do in sports, which is, statistically speaking, be a better pro than you were collegiate. The game gets harder, the players get faster, the schemes get more difficult, and you were asking a guy who was a below average, he was the 7th rated passer in his conference, okay? You're asking that guy to become a markedly better pro than he was college player. Hey, people compare this to Josh Allen last year, and I didn't like the Josh Allen pick. Here's the difference, though. Josh Allen at least had a couple traits that even I, who was skeptical of him, was like, man, he does have a rocket arm. Yeah. He can make a lot of elite-level NFL throws, even in the bad weather in Buffalo.
Yep.
The trait Daniel Jones has is he's known the Manning brothers a really long time. Okay? That is what they are moving forward with.
The difference between the two is Josh Allen had to pretty much start right away, and now we're hearing that potentially Daniel Jones could sit behind Eli Manning for 1, 2, maybe even 3 years. I don't know if that helps him enough where it'll overcome his shortcomings, but it'll give him time to at least learn the game, right, where guys like Patrick Mahomes did. I'm not comparing the two, but give him a year, 2 years, maybe even 3 to figure out how Eli did it when he was successful in the early part of his career.
Sometimes it doesn't matter how long a kid sits. If he can't play in the league, he can't play in the league. Now, I don't know what they were going on. The intel that Cutcliffe gave them, the intel that they saw at the Senior Bowl, at the number 6 position, and last year when you skipped on a quarterback and you have another first-round pick, it's just not the selection that I would make. Eli Manning, to me, is done playing high-level football. So we're in a direct conflict as far as what I believe is best for the New York Football Giants and what they believe is best. Eli Manning will be a great mentor no matter who it was. But in this league, if you can't play, it don't help. I can't be a mentor to someone who can't play because you can't fool guys in the NFL locker room. And so we're going to find out. And Eli better keep playing for a long time before we see him.
And let's talk about, people keep bringing up the Kansas City model. Take Pat Mahomes out of it, because we know he's a special player. Kansas City sat Pat Mahomes for his first year because they were coming off a playoff appearance, and that year, Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, they had a top 5 offense and were a playoff team. Alex Smith was playing at a much higher level than Eli Manning is now. When they allude to Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years, he was sitting behind Brett Favre, who for 2 of those 3 years was still an extraordinary quarterback, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. The idea that, oh, it's okay that we draft him because he's not going to have to play. Well, maybe you should have drafted a guy you want to play. Like, they did do Eli Manning a favor. They somehow took the only quarterback they possibly could at 6 that the fans won't be begging to start over Eli.
They did Dwayne Haskins a favor.
Yeah, they did.
By allowing him to fall in the draft, then he fell to his hometown team in Washington. They got a better offensive line. They got a couple running backs. So right now, I'm going to tell you something. Dwayne Haskins is going to make less money, but he's in a better position than
Daniel Jones.
Good transition. On the other side, we'll talk about that.